everybody. Thank you for joining us today for this quarter's customer showcase. So, Brewhouse and Kitchen, many of you will know this has been a mainstay of the UK pub awards scene over recent years. I'm sure Simon will talk more about the accolades that the business has accrued in a moment. The business is effectively a series of brew pubs, which basically means they've got on-site brewing equipment and master brewers working in the location so that customers get to have a really interesting experience with their food and beverage in terms of drinking local brews, going sort of one step up in quality from what people might expect in their average pub. We've been very excited to work with Brewhouse and Kitchen for a couple of years now. We started working together in 2020, although, again, I'm sure Simon will tell you when he talks for himself, we've known each other for much longer than that, actually. I think from the first year after we started Yapster in 2015. They're a founding team we've always looked up to and a brand that we've always liked. It was always pretty clear to us that the culture that was in Brewhouse and Kitchen was reflective of the type of business that we wanted to work for and serve as we went on this social leadership mission. And the numbers bear out what we hoped. 90% of Simon's teams, a multi-hundred colleague organisation, are onto the platform, and just shy of 80% use Yapster every week. And again, we'll talk why that is in a second. It's largely going to be around the story of the brand and the leaders in that business on the front line and at the top of the business, rather than anything necessarily inherent in Yapster, in my opinion. But even though Brewhouse and Kitchen have got a great business and a great culture, like all of us, new technologies take time to bed in. And so I thought I'd share a couple of stats before we hand over to Simon, showing how their communication landscape has changed over the last year. So you can see there that during the first year that we launched, you'd have like high hundreds of yaps, and now that's quadrupled since that first year together. Similarly, the news feed was always fairly vibrant from a Brewhouse and Kitchen perspective, a bit like the high street of where our office is, if you can hear that in the background. But that has just continued to climb over the last year. And then group conversations have actually doubled in the last year as well. Just really interesting to see that even when you have a strong culture and a strong start, it takes time for people to get used to new habits. So with that, let me stop sharing and bring Simon in. Simon, thank you so much for talking to the group about Brewhouse and Kitchen leadership, and I guess a little bit of Yapster as well. Can you remember when we first met?
Yeah, I remember the moment. Yeah, we were you came to see us in Highbury because obviously our office is there and you're not too far away. So I think you did a post out through Propel to talk about what the offer was. And I sort of got in touch with you straight away because I was really quite interested in it. The thing about running multi-sites is that so much information goes through to the general manager, and we know that it doesn't filter through. So it's a really big problem to get to the end users. And you know, since we've been using Yapster, to be fair, the team know us more than they ever had. And the key thing for me, and I'm probably jumping ahead here, but the key thing is the welcome that I get in the pubs now. And you know, it's remarkable. It's quite different to how it was before. And I liken it to, you know, when you meet somebody that you're very familiar with because you see them on the telly. I remember meeting Lee Dixon, you know, a number of years ago, and I did this cycle from Paris to London. And it was really odd meeting him because it was like I knew him, but I didn't know him at all. And I know that's exactly how the teams are if you walk into a business. I walked into one of our businesses near Manchester at 10 o'clock on one Tuesday evening, and obviously not expecting me, but the welcome was like, "Oh, hello, Simon, how are you?" And you know, that sort of thing had not happened prior to Chris and I doing our weekly videos. So
did you I think it would be interesting actually for the group that are watching. You've been working in the sector for a really long time, haven't you, before you became the founder? I guess it would be interesting to make this not almost too Yapster specific. Love to know how you've seen the industry change over the years as your sort of role has evolved. Because I guess that's quite a good jumping off point then to talk about the things we're collaborating on together in Yapster. Where did you start?
Well, it was a long time ago. But I can tell you what. I'll give you the most interesting story, which is my ancestors on my mother's side came from Italy, and they came over and landed in Cornwall. They worked in Newquay, and they provided ice cream in Newquay called Staffieri's Ice Cream. And that was one side. His brother from the family went off and made Kelly's Ice Cream. They just felt that at that time that having an Italian name wasn't so good. So they took the son-in-law's name, which is Kelly's of Cornwall.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they also had cafes. So I started working in a Kelly's Cafe in Mevagissey when I was 12 years old, clearing, bussing tables, washing dishes and all of that kind of stuff. So I've always loved the business, to be honest. It's I look at so many different opportunities to work, but I don't think there's anything as good as working in hospitality. I mean, yes, it's hard work. Yes, it's long hours. Yes, it's antisocial. But actually, I love all those things. I mean, yeah. I honestly do. I remember working on Saturdays thinking, well, I'd love to have a Saturday off. But you know what? I don't really care to go out on Saturday. Now, I don't particularly work many Saturdays. And the main reason is it's really busy. I'd rather go out Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, as I used to when I was a general manager.
Industry nights.
Well, yeah, those.
Simon, what was your first management and leadership experience in the sector?
Well, when I was 17, I was working in pubs, restaurants, and it was for Allied. By the time I was 21, I'd been convinced to be a general manager, and I was funny enough. I was working with Peter Bourgeois of Oakman Inns and Dennis Deere, who he actually runs Miller and Carter and the premium country pubs of Miller, Mitchells and Butler, and we were on quite a big rollout of Muswell's exchanges, this kind of stuff. So I sort of got forced into being a general manager. I remember being quite young at the time and thinking, I'm just not ready. But it was sink or swim a little bit. And to be fair, I definitely not good. I wasn't as good as I am today, clearly, but I had to learn a lot of really hard lessons. There's some sites that are very hard to run, and there's some sites that are very easy to run. And I'm always conscious of that when we're working with our teams, because I know some of the guys, they really do have to put in twice as much effort than other guys do, because it just comes easy to them. It comes easy. The business comes in. They can employ a really good team. They're really accessible, and in other places it isn't. So.
And you had experience of running both, presumably, and then you started running up and running collections of sites and then regions.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I had several management posts. I was a general manager for about 10 years, and then I transitioned into multi-site via a sales role with Scottish Courage, selling beer into. It was really not my favourite job, but selling beer into working men's clubs and private free traders, which was a bit more fun because I could give them a lot of experience. And then I became an area manager, and I was an area manager for about 10 years in varying companies, from Scottish and Newcastle to Whitbread and Mitchells and Butlers ultimately. And at that point, we set up Brewhouse and Kitchen.
That was what I was going to come on to then. So you have a real big company background. What was the opportunity that you saw in the market, and how did you want Brewhouse and Kitchen to be different to what you'd experienced before on that journey?
Well, pubs are interesting, aren't they? Because they're either gastro pubs or they're real good. They were really good real ale kind of drinking pubs, and quite earthy. And what we wanted to do is be somewhere that was champion of beer, so hence the brewery, hence all the third parties that we get in, but also be good on a food occasion. So be good at good traditional kind of nice pub food that people like, and some of those dirtier items as well. So you can come, you can relax and enjoy. And I think we try to create nice environments to be in, and I think it reflects in the mix that we get to male to female. I think every time we do any research, it comes out 50-50 or 52 male to 48 female. So we're very evenly mixed, and people wouldn't think that for a beer brand.
It's growing great guns, isn't it? How many sites and people are you at now? And what's the geographic spread?
Well, yeah, we're down at Dorchester and up to Chester. So, and then we're in and around London and down to Worthing and over in Cardiff. So I actually live in Exeter now. So Cardiff is my local branch, or is my closest branch. I've just got the Bristol Channel in the way. So because I have to go around Bristol is probably the easiest for me to get to these days.
And is roughly mid-20s in numbers, and what, like? Yeah,
we've got 23 sites. 23 sites open and trading. We're just working on the 24th now, more to come, really, to be honest. We are a freehold business, so over 70% of our businesses are freehold. We've taken some leaseholds because it's very hard to get into certain areas without taking a lease. So, but yeah, I think we've done very well acquiring some exceptional property, actually.
Well, I mean, the reason we were so excited to talk to you today is we love the brand as customers anyway, but we've just released this social leadership report where we're very lucky that so many leaders from across the sector disclosed their social leadership, their messaging activity data through the second half of 2021. And I don't want to embarrass you, but you and quite a few of your leadership team were like featured in that report as some of the most socially active in terms of actively communicating to the team. Then, of course, we've been co-innovating around this KPI gamification idea that I think you and I have been kicking around for about 5 years, but we've been, the engineering team at Yapster have been building in earnest for really the last 2, and we've been using it in anger over the last 12 months. So I really wanted to share that. And then, of course, we've been doing loads of integrated applications, not least the reward gateway piece. So, I mean, if you wouldn't mind, you've kind of alluded to some of the leadership and culture stuff. So if we can talk about the KPI gamification piece, it would be good. I've got a couple of slides to show how we set it up and how it works. But what it'd be awesome if, before I put those up on screen, just to understand a bit of the sort of the why from your perspective, like what was it about KPI gamification that caught your imagination? Because I feel like it was as much your idea as mine, to be honest.
Well, that's very generous of you to say so. I just think that the more you can get team members engaged, if they feel part of something, then they're going to have much more effort into what they're doing. You feel part. I've worked in organisations where you feel part of something, and it's not about people doing too much. It's about who you work with and the culture and the values and stuff. And then I've worked in other organisations where you just think, what is this all about? So I think having some fun and having some games across the piece, you know that you're part of a small independent group. And if you've got that interaction and that constant drip feed message, you can't help but be carried along with that, and that's what we want. We want everyone to, hospitality is maybe not seen as a career prospect for most, but you know what? While our team are with us, then we want them to have the best time possible. And if they go off and do other things, and many of them have, then go off and do brilliant things, but with our absolute blessing and with also some skills that you've picked up along the way. So yeah, that's the games come really from just engagement and just really trying to drive performance in the right way.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm going to share my screen again now, because I think this is, I love it. Thank you for giving permission to show this. I think the fact that you're trying to do things the right way, but also in a way that's fun, is what really spoke to me. So let me just share this now. So here we go. Right. So the featured product first was Aspel cider. Simon, we talked about the setup of the business. You got the 23 brew pubs, or you did when we ran the first Aspel Cup. Why were you thinking about maximising sales of Aspel just out of interest? Because that was clearly the strategic goal before we then integrated your underlying trading data and designed those matches.
Yeah.
Why was it Aspel? Was it just because it was seasonal at that time?
It's a very good question, because we're not called Cider House and Kitchen. So the reason it was Aspel's is because it was clearer and cleaner. One of the issues about our offer and what we have is you can buy beer in a third, a half, a pint, a 2 pint, a Triton. So there are so many PLUs that you can buy in, and then when you get beer, you've got tops, you've got shandies, you've got all of those measures, and then you've got all of the variants. You don't really have that with Aspel, so this was a good way of trialing the system, and for us to also understand it, because quite honestly, this was the first one that we've done, and we all know that when you do things for the first time, you're just learning how it works. So
because people talk about innovation, and then not many people ever actually get to feel what that's like, do they? Like, innovation, by definition, is trying new things. It's been a real privilege for us figuring this out with you, and then just a couple of other forward-thinking brands, so that we could make sure that the way the next wave of development goes is based on actual learnings on the front line. Let me just share this again then, so that folks can see what it actually looked like when we did run this Aspel Cup for you, because some of the sort of banter that you very kindly shared with me, I thought was great fun. So can you just talk us through what we're seeing here on the screen then? So this is, the way it appeared was effectively the sales data that came through from Polaris, but it could be any EPOS system, showed us the all draft and then the Aspel conversion by site, right?
Yeah.
And then did you encourage the teams to be sharing their war stories as to why, as to what was going on site that was relevant to the game?
Well, yeah, I mean, look, there were some things that we didn't know how they would work, but it's something that the team started doing more and more. As one person did one thing, you saw other people doing stuff, and obviously Dorchester was our winner, and it is one of those brew pubs that is in quite a cider area. But I really think that Andy, the manager there, really got behind the whole process, and he set his sights on, I really want to win that, as a statement of intent for what he wanted for his brew pub. So he went about it in a really smart way, posting out regular things, raising the profile to his team, sending lots of messages to his team about stuff, but actively promoting it on the feed of information. So it's like anything. Your team sometimes need to see things happening for them to really believe it. But when they believe it, then they'll really push and drive for it as well. I mean, what we did have through that process as well is we had some Aspel's hampers, and we had some gift vouchers that we gave away to runners up and to the finalists. So there were some rewards to go back to the team, so they knew that was part of the incentive as well. But the regular communication, it's very important, because I think when people really understand that there's a new game each day or each week or over whatever period it is, and they're waiting for the results, clearly it's going to be way more engagement. Even if you've upped the engagement by 50%, that's drowning out the dissenters, if there are any in the teams, and that's what you need to do.
What are you thinking in terms of some games looking forward? Are there other particular product items, product themes, or campaigns that you'd like to see us try and gamify to help you sustain that energy?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Our next one is going to be all about cask beer, and there's a couple of reasons for that. Cask beer is key to what we do. We have taken our brewing miles down significantly. You know, we brew in one corner of the pub, and we drink it in the next corner of the pub. So, you know, you're talking about, when you talk about beer miles, you're probably talking about 10 feet or 20 feet. So that's very low. It is quite profitable for us, to be fair. We brew our own beer and we sell it. That's obviously much more profitable. But I think cask beer as a category is not completely understood by everyone. And during the last 2 years, we've kind of lost 2 years, and we've had, you know, a number of, you know, churn of our team. We've been focused on varying topics, and we need to get back to our core. So when we have competitions like cask, we'll be training the team on cask. We'll be talking to them how we pour it, how we serve it. We've been doing recent videos to lead up to that, because we were expecting this to start a little bit forward. But we will be pushing on items that are obviously going to enhance our margin, that are saleable in all of our outlets, and where the team can have some fun and learning.
It's amazing. It's exciting for us, because clearly the more we put into this, and the more that we can make it work together. Everything you're saying, although for you it's unique, it's around a unique sort of product set, you'd imagine could apply in other service organizations that have that sort of those distributed teams and an evolving or complex product mix. So it's a good opportunity for us. We just want the ideas to keep coming from you and the crew.
Yeah, I mean, look, you could tap into any wine provider, you could tap into any product provider, and you could sample some gifts and get those down to the team members, because I don't need gifts of varying things. You know, it's nice when you get, I mean, when I was an area manager, general manager, you never get anything. When you're a business owner, I mean, it's really weird. You get sent stuff all the time, and I feel ungrateful, but I want to give everything I get to the team, because, you know, I've gone past the stage of really needing freebies or wanting them. I mean, sometimes they're lovely. I'm not decrying, but you know, you do think you get a lot chucked at you. So you know, when you give a team member a case of beer, you know, they're really chuffed to bits with it, because, and I would have been as a team member as well. So.
No, we're definitely going to take the wider learnings from what we're doing with you around how you partner with the product providers to create those sort of little incentives to make them feel, it's exactly what you said earlier, make them feel included. So Simon, we've got a couple of questions that have come in. What I just want to do is, before we answer some of those questions, if you don't mind, I'm just going to share one more thing again, because I think there's one other quite interesting piece of your innovation that that others might be able to learn from, which is this sort of employee hub that that we've created together in your apps tab. Would you mind just talking us through what we can see up here? I mean, I know I've called out Reward Gateway because that's been a really great relationship for both of us, but there's clearly other things on the screen as well. But maybe we could start with Reward Gateway.
Well, this is a great example of, you know, you're getting services from lots of different providers, but you never know, where are all these things? How do I access them? I mean, one of the key things here was about getting your payslip. All of our payslips have always been online. We pay everybody every 4 weeks. And now there's a go-to area where you can put all of those items and anything that the team use, so they can access it. And I know we've been talking about putting on employee handbooks into that kind of area and other things, and how we can develop, you know, just making sure that our teams, and I'm always focused and conscious on the teams. You know, I always go and talk to the pot wash, because, you know, I did do that job for 6 weeks once, a long time ago, and my son is doing the same thing actually at the moment in a local gastropub. So you know, those guys are really important to us that work in those areas, because, you know, it's and we've got some long-term pot washers, you know, Martin in Southampton and Nigel up in Nottingham. You know, it's they've been there for a long time. It's great.
And have you found that actually making that information more easily available is making a difference to some of those folks then? Because I hadn't, when we first met, this idea of the integrated apps tab was not actually part of the Yapster design. So it's been cool for me to see it come to life in the technology, but obviously you know the meaning more than I do and whether that stuff really can make a difference.
Well, I'll tell you what, with Reward Gateway in particular, and I don't know if everyone knows what Reward Gateway is, but effectively it's a way of allowing all of your team to gain some discounts. They've also got like a well-being section, and you can give kudos to varying people. So all of our jobs and all of our internal progression gets put through that. Excuse me.
Yeah, they're a good bunch. No, we've enjoyed working with them as well. So I've got a couple of questions then that have come up, Simon. I know you've got board meetings today, so we won't hold you on too long. But if you've got time for just a couple, I'll put them to you. Do you have a specific management path at Brewhouse and Kitchen, given your move from the front line up to being the sort of owner of a business?
Yeah, we absolutely do. I mean, you could literally join us at any job. We've had a lot of people that join us coming to working in a bar. So many people do. I'm out of work. I think I'll just get a job in a bar. Then they realise, and my daughter worked for us recently, and she said, it's amazing how much you need to know. So our training is very, very good at team member level. We just had a team engagement survey online last week. And one of the key things came out was about our development and our training. And they were really, really happy with that. Once you get into that level, we normally would train you as a beer specialist or a gin specialist or a coffee specialist. So that gets into more in depth. You get a pay increment from that. And then obviously you can go to supervisor. Once you're at a supervisor level, we have two types of assistant. We have one that looks after the people side of the business, or the training, the coaching, the development, recruitment, the well-being. And then we have a sort of control assistant. They look after all of the recycling, the stocks, the ordering of varying things. They understand the P&L. So what we're trying to do with those two assistant roles is, really getting under the skin of what the general manager has to do, and then we can cross them over. Just preparing them to be a general manager, I think that's really important. At their weekly management meetings, they should be giving a sort of an in-depth kind of view from their role about how the stocks have worked out, what days were good, what days were bad, how we're working through energy and everything. So, I think I could quite clearly say, yeah, I mean, I think you get really well trained with us, and I think there's a great career progression.
Yeah, I mean, that's what we see from the outside. What's been interesting for me is obviously we've seen the data that you very kindly disclosed in the 2022 social leadership report, but also just anecdotally, I've seen some of the videos that you and your co-founder Chris pushed out to the organisation. So you do actually walk the walk in terms of this digital leadership stuff we talk about, and it wouldn't matter what platform you use. I'm interested, is there any focus on digital skills with the managers or some of your regional leaders? Is it just something that's come naturally to you guys at the top of the brand, or is it something in the water, something in the car scale? I'm just curious as to how you're thinking about development of those skills, particularly as the business gets bigger and bigger and it gets harder and harder to sustain that culture and message.
Well, I mean, when it comes to social stuff, I just think it's important to be yourself. And if you've watched any of Chris's and I videos, which we are ourselves, and which is how people get to know. Yes, we look at social media at house level, and we look at how it's being used and what we can do, and we look at that kind of. But you know what? We could do so much more. You can always do so much more, and I think we've got a myriad of people. Some people would just say, "Oh, I'm too old for that." Well, you know what? I'm 57 this year. I'm not too old. I'm never too old to do anything. I could do anything at all. So, talking yourself or giving yourself an excuse because of your age is just a ridiculous thing to do. I can honestly tell you I've got two godsons and they're about 28, 27. And I'll be saying to them when I meet them, oh, did you know you could do this on your phone? Or have you heard that? Have you heard this music or that music? And they're always saying to me, it should be the other way around, Simon. You know, what, you know, you're always, but, you know, this is about living, isn't it? I mean, just having some fun and just enjoying yourself.
Do you know what? Yes, I 100% agree. I would love to tell people that technology alone can do that, but you do actually need to have like a decent cultural core there, and then leaders at every level that are willing to put themselves out there and, as you say, be authentic and be available. And then that teaches, inspires other people to do it. So I'm glad that that question was asked and that you were so open in answering it. So I'm sure we could get questions flowing all afternoon, but I know I need to let you get back to your board meeting. Simon, thank you so much for making the time to do this. If people do want to follow your business's story online, where's the best place for them to see you? Do you do much on LinkedIn? I know you're featured.
Do you know what, Rob? I'm not much for talking outside the organisation. I just want to talk in the organisation, and I want to talk to my people. I'm really not. I'm not into giving it the big I am outside. I don't care what people think of me. I just want to talk to the people that work with us. I think that's really important. I get asked to do lots of things and I don't do them.
I know you don't.
So you know, I was supposed to do something last year and I couldn't do it at the last minute, which was a shame. But if I commit to something, I want to do it. But I'm not much one for getting up and speaking. Not because I can't, because I just don't see the value in it, to be honest.
So if the folks want to follow your story, then really they need to come be customers. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, come and work for us, or definitely come and spend some money.
Simon, thank you so much. Thanks for being so generous with your time. We look forward to keep working with you this year and doing those Cast Ale games.
Take care.
Cheers.